The ballroom was beautiful. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light across 50 guests dressed in elegant evening wear. Champagne glasses clinked, soft music played, flowers adorned every table. It was the perfect 10th anniversary celebration, except for my face. I stood near the front of the room in the emerald dress Damon had chosen for me, trying to smile while pain throbbed through my cheek. I'd used every makeup trick I knew to cover the bruise, but under these bright lights, it was still visible. A dark shadow spreading from my cheekbone to my jaw. My lip was swollen too, split at the corner where Clarissa's ring had caught when she'd hit me. People were staring. I could feel their eyes on me, could hear the whispers spreading through the room like ripples in water. I kept my head down, my hands clasped in front of me, wishing I could disappear. Damon stood beside me, completely unbothered by the attention. He actually looked pleased, like everything was going exactly as he'd planned. When it was time for speeches, he took the microphone and thanked everyone for coming. His voice was warm, charming, the voice he used in public that bore no resemblance to the cold tone he used at home. Then he said something that made the entire room fall silent. "I know some of you have noticed my wife's appearance tonight. I want to be transparent about what happened." My stomach dropped. He was going to tell them, in front of everyone. It was my sisters, Clarissa and Whitney. They taught Amara a lesson yesterday about respect and knowing her place in this family. The words hung in the air. I couldn't breathe. He was proud. He was actually proud of what they'd done to me. The room was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then I heard laughter. Clarissa and Whitney stood near their mother, and they were laughing. Actually, laughing, like this was funny, like me being hurt was something to celebrate. Whitney nudged Clarissa, whispering something that made them both laugh harder. Priscilla sat beside them with a small smile on her face, nodding approvingly at her daughters. I wanted to run, to disappear, to die right there rather than endure another second of this humiliation. Tears started streaming down my face. I couldn't stop them. The guests looked horrified, but no one spoke. No one confronted Damon. No one came to my defense. They just stared, uncomfortable and silent. This was it. This was my life. Public humiliation at my own anniversary party, and no one was going to help me. I closed my eyes, wishing I could fade away. Then I heard the ballroom doors burst open. The sound made everyone turn. I looked up through my tears and saw someone walking across the room with purpose, heels clicking on the marble floor. A woman, wearing a dress identical to mine, with a face identical to mine. But where I was broken, she radiated strength. Where I was defeated, she burned with fury. Aurora, my twin sister, the sister I hadn't seen in 10 years because Damon had cut her out of my life. The room watched in stunned silence as she crossed the distance between us, her eyes locked on Damon. She walked right up to him, fearless, and the entire ballroom seemed to hold its breath. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't process what was happening. Aurora stood face to face with my husband, and her voice carried across the silent room, clear and strong and absolutely fearless. "You're proud of what they did to her? You're celebrating it?" Damon's confident expression finally cracked, and for the first time in 10 years, I felt something I thought I'd lost forever. Hope. 12 years ago, Aurora and I were inseparable. We'd been that way since birth. Identical twins who finished each other's sentences, who knew what the other was thinking with just a look, who did everything together. We were 20, both studying business at university, both planning to open our own consulting firm someday. We had dreams, ambitions, futures that seemed bright and limitless. Then I met Damon at a networking event. He was 23, already successful in commercial real estate, confident in a way that drew people to him. When he approached me at the refreshment table, his attention felt intoxicating. "I've been watching you all evening," he said with that charming smile. "You're the most interesting person in this room." We talked for 2 hours. He asked questions about my studies, my goals, my life. He made me feel seen in a way no one else ever had. He called the next day, and the day after that. Within a week, we were having dinner 3 times a week. Within a month, he'd sent flowers to my dorm room every single day. Aurora didn't like him from the start. "There's something off about him," she said after meeting Damon the first time. "The way he talks about you, like you're a possession he's acquired." "You're being paranoid," I'd replied, annoyed that she couldn't just be happy for me. "He doesn't like that we're close. I can tell. He changes the subject every time you mention me." She was right, but I didn't want to see it. Damon had started making comments. "You and your sister are unusually dependent on each other. It's not healthy. You need to establish your own identity, separate from being a twin." At the time, his words sounded caring, like he wanted what was best for me. So I started putting distance between Aurora and me, declining her invitations to study together, making plans with Damon instead of our usual twin time, telling her I needed space. The hurt in her eyes should have stopped me. But Damon's approval felt more important. 6 months after we met, Damon proposed with a massive diamond ring at an expensive restaurant. Everyone applauded. I said yes, caught up in the romance of it all. The wedding was 4 months later. Damon's family paid for everything, insisting on a lavish affair that showcased the West family's wealth and status. I should have noticed the warning signs even then. Priscilla's toast at the rehearsal dinner: "Amara, you're joining a family with traditions and standards. We expect you to honor them above all else, including whatever you knew before." Clarissa and Whitney cornering me before the ceremony: "Mother has high expectations. You'll need to be trained properly to meet West family standards." The way Damon's whole family treated me, not like a person joining their family, but like an acquisition that needed to be molded into acceptable form. Aurora tried to talk to me privately at the reception. "It's not too late," she said urgently. "If you have any doubts at all, we can leave right now. I'll support you no matter what." I'd had champagne and was riding high on being the center of attention. "You're just jealous that I found someone. You don't want me to be happy." The words came out cruel and cutting. Aurora's face crumpled. "That's not true. I love you. I'm worried about you." "Well, don't be. I'm fine. I'm happy. And I'm married now, so maybe you need to accept that my life doesn't revolve around you anymore." She'd stepped back like I'd slapped her. "When he shows you who he really is, I'll be here. I'll always be here." Then she'd walked away, and I'd felt victorious rather than concerned. That conversation was the beginning of our estrangement, and the beginning of my prison sentence, though I didn't know it yet. Within weeks of returning from our honeymoon, Damon suggested I didn't need to finish my degree. "I earn plenty for both of us. Why stress yourself?" I dropped out, thinking he was being generous. He was really just removing my independence piece by piece. The West family had rules, so many rules I couldn't keep track of them all. Priscilla explained them to me during my first family orientation 2 weeks after the honeymoon. She sat across from me in her pristine living room, Clarissa and Whitney flanking her like guards. "In this family, wives serve their husbands and respect their in-laws above all else," she said. "Obedience isn't optional. It's expected." I'd laughed nervously, thinking she was joking. Her expression turned ice cold. "Do I look like I'm joking, Amara?" "No, ma'am. I'm sorry." "You'll learn." "We'll make sure of it." The first family dinner was a test I didn't know I was taking. I'd cooked for hours, trying to make everything perfect. When I served the roast, Priscilla took one bite and set down her fork. "This is unacceptable. The meat is overcooked and the seasoning is wrong." "I followed the recipe you gave me." "Are you arguing with me?" Damon's hand squeezed my knee under the table, hard enough to hurt. A warning. "No, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'll do better." "You will. In fact, you'll remake this entire meal. Tonight. We'll wait." I'd cooked until 3 in the morning while the family sat in the living room, making me serve them drinks and snacks as I worked. When I finally presented the second meal, Priscilla declared it adequate, barely, and they ate while I cleaned up, exhausted. Damon didn't help. Didn't defend me, just went to bed while I scrubbed pans. The criticism was constant. My clothes were wrong, my hair was wrong, the way I walked, talked, laughed, all wrong. Clarissa and Whitney delighted in pointing out my failures. "Did you really wear that dress to church? You looked like a homeless person," Whitney said once, loud enough for others to hear. "Mother says you embarrassed Damon at his company party. Apparently you don't know how to make proper conversation with important people," Clarissa added. When I tried to stand up for myself, Priscilla instituted correction sessions. I'd be summoned to the West Estate and lectured for hours about respect and obedience. If I didn't go, Damon would rage at me for days, silent treatment punctuated by explosions of anger. I learned it was easier to just submit. The physical abuse started small. Damon grabbing my arm too hard during arguments, leaving finger-shaped bruises, pushing me away when I tried to talk to him about something he didn't want to discuss. Then his sisters joined in. A shove that sent me stumbling at a family gathering. "Oops, sorry, didn't see you there," Clarissa said sweetly while I picked myself up. Whitney accidentally slamming a door into me, leaving a bruise on my shoulder. Priscilla watched it all and said nothing. Or worse, she'd smile. I tried to escape once, 5 years in. I'd found a computer at the library and sent Aurora an email begging her to meet me. She responded within minutes. "I'll be there. Name the time and place. I love you." But Damon monitored everything. He found the email that night. The punishment was worse than anything before. He didn't hit me. He was too smart for that. But he screamed for hours about betrayal and disloyalty. He took away my phone, my laptop, my car keys. He made me quit my volunteer position at the animal shelter, the one thing I still did outside the house. "You clearly can't be trusted with freedom," he said coldly, "so you won't have any." After that, I stopped trying, stopped hoping, stopped believing I could ever escape. I became what they wanted, silent, obedient, broken. I stopped being Amara and became just Damon's wife, the West family's punching bag, a ghost living in a beautiful prison. And I accepted that this was my life now. Until the week before the anniversary party, when I made one small mistake that changed everything. The anniversary party preparations consumed 3 months of my life. Damon wanted everything perfect, a showcase of West family success and superiority. I planned every detail under Priscilla's supervision: the venue, the decorations, the 5-course menu, the guest list of 50 influential people. Every choice I made was scrutinized, criticized, often rejected entirely. "These linens are cream, not ivory. Are you colorblind?" Clarissa sneered. "The floral centerpieces are too tall. Guests won't be able to see each other." "Start over," Priscilla commanded. I redid everything 3, 4, sometimes 5 times until it met their standards. I wasn't sleeping more than 3 hours a night. I'd lost weight I couldn't afford to lose. My hands shook constantly from exhaustion and stress. 3 days before the party, I was at the West Estate reviewing final details when Priscilla examined the flower arrangements I'd ordered. She studied them in silence, her face growing harder. "These are completely unacceptable." My heart sank. "What's wrong with them?" "Everything. The colors are garish. The arrangement style is pedestrian. These are not appropriate for a West family event." "But you approved these 2 weeks ago. I showed you pictures." "I've changed my mind. Fix it. Immediately." I'd been awake for 22 hours. I'd spent weeks on these arrangements. I'd already paid the florist. Something inside me snapped. "The flowers are fine. They're beautiful. I'm not changing them." The words came out before I could stop them. The room went completely silent. Clarissa and Whitney, who'd been scrolling through their phones, looked up sharply. Priscilla's face turned to stone. "What did you say?" I should have backtracked, apologized, begged for forgiveness. Instead, exhaustion and 10 years of pent-up resentment made me double down. "I said I'm not changing them. I've already changed everything else 5 times. The flowers are staying." Priscilla stood slowly, her eyes cold as ice. "Clarissa, Whitney, come to the estate tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Your sister-in-law needs to be reminded of her place." My stomach dropped. I knew what that meant. "Priscilla, please, get out of my sight." I left, my hands shaking, knowing I'd made a terrible mistake. The next day, I received a text from Damon. "Mother called. "You're to be at the estate at 2 p.m., don't be late." I thought about running, but where would I go? I had no money, no car access, no one to call. I arrived at the estate at 1:55. Priscilla, Clarissa, and Whitney were waiting in the sitting room. "Close the door," Priscilla said. What followed were the worst 4 hours of my life. It started with screaming, all three of them taking turns, hurling insults and accusations. I was ungrateful, disrespectful, a disappointment, a burden on their family. I stood there and took it, tears streaming down my face, apologizing over and over. Then Clarissa stood up and walked toward me. "Apologies aren't enough anymore." She slapped me across the face so hard I stumbled backward. Before I could recover, Whitney shoved me to the ground. "You need to learn," Whitney said, and kicked me while I was down. I tried to curl into a ball, tried to protect myself, but Clarissa grabbed my hair and yanked my head back. She hit me again, her ring catching my lip and splitting it open. Priscilla sat in her chair, watching. "Harder, she needs to understand." When I tried to defend myself, to push them away, they hit me more. It didn't stop until I was sobbing on the floor, promising to be better, to obey, to never question them again. They left me there on the carpet, bleeding and broken. Damon came home that evening and saw my face. I waited for concern, for anger on my behalf, for any sign he cared. Instead, he nodded approvingly. "Good. Maybe now you'll think twice before disrespecting my mother." That night, looking at my bruised face in the mirror, I made a decision. I would go to the anniversary party, I would smile, I would accept that this was my life. I'd fought for the last time. I had nothing left. I didn't know that while I was losing myself, Aurora was searching for me, for 10 years. After the wedding, she'd tried calling and texting. I didn't respond. Damon had taken my phone and changed my number without telling her. She came to our house multiple times those first few months. Damon always had an excuse ready. "Amara's not feeling well. She's resting. She's busy with errands. She doesn't want to see you right now." Aurora didn't believe him, but what could she do? She kept trying, showing up unannounced, sending letters, calling Damon's office. Finally, Damon got a restraining order, claiming Aurora was harassing us and causing me emotional distress. I found out about it years later. At the time, I knew nothing. The worst part was the court hearing. Damon made me testify. "Do you want your sister to stop contacting you?" his lawyer asked. I looked at Damon, sitting there with that expression I'd learned to read, the one that meant there would be consequences if I gave the wrong answer. "Yes," I whispered. "Can you speak up, please?" "Yes. I want her to stop." I didn't see Aurora's face when I said it. I couldn't look at her. The restraining order was granted. What I didn't know was that my testimony didn't convince Aurora something was wrong. It confirmed it. The sister she knew would never cut her off voluntarily, which meant I was being forced. She'd just graduated college. Instead of pursuing business like we'd planned together, she went to law school. She studied family law, domestic abuse cases, legal protections for victims, everything she'd need to help me when the time came. She became an expert, built a career around helping people trapped in situations like mine. She hired private investigators over the years who confirmed what she suspected. I was isolated, controlled, likely being abused. But without my cooperation, she couldn't force an intervention. So she waited, and watched, and prepared. She started attending our church, sitting in the back where I wouldn't notice her, just to see me, to make sure I was still alive. She watched me change over the years, watched the light leave my eyes, watched my posture become hunched and defeated, watched me walk 2 steps behind Damon with my head down. It broke her heart, but she never stopped hoping for a chance to reach me. She befriended Father Bernard, who'd known us since childhood. He was worried about me, too. "I've tried to speak with her privately," he told Aurora, "but she always insists everything is fine. She's clearly afraid." Together, they prayed for an opportunity. Aurora also connected with Theodore Jameson, a colleague who specialized in domestic abuse cases. They developed a plan, resources ready for when I was finally able to escape, a safe house, legal protection, financial support, therapy connections, everything I'd need. They just needed me to be ready to accept help. 10 years of preparation, 10 years of Aurora's life spent becoming the person who could save me. When she learned about the anniversary party, she knew it was her chance. The guest list included people from outside the West family circle, business associates, community members, people who didn't know what happened behind closed doors. If Damon did something publicly abusive, Aurora could expose him in front of witnesses who might actually care. She wasn't invited, obviously, but that wasn't going to stop her. She hacked Damon's email, skills she'd learned specifically for this purpose, and found the party details. She bought a dress identical to mine. We were still the same size, still identical in every physical way. The night of the party, she looked at herself in the mirror, the same face I had but filled with strength and determination I'd lost. "I'm coming for you, Amara," she whispered to her reflection. "Tonight, this ends." She didn't know about my bruised face yet, didn't know Clarissa and Whitney had beaten me the day before. She just knew that 10 years was long enough. Her sister needed her, and Aurora never abandoned family. Aurora walked across that ballroom like an avenging angel, and every eye followed her. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. My twin sister, the person I'd missed every single day for 10 years, was here. Damon's confident expression shattered when he recognized her. "Who the hell let you in here?" His voice was sharp, threatened. Aurora ignored him completely. She turned to face the crowd, her voice clear and powerful. "Good evening, everyone. I'm Aurora Cole, Amara's twin sister. Most of you probably didn't know she had one because this man has kept us apart for 10 years. She pointed directly at Damon. "I'm here because I just heard my sister's husband proudly announce that his sisters physically assaulted her, and you all stood here silently." The room erupted in uncomfortable murmuring. Guests shifted, looking at each other. At me, at the West family. Damon grabbed for Aurora's arm. "You need to leave, now! You're not welcome." She yanked away from him, her eyes blazing. "You're proud of what they did? You're celebrating it?" She turned back to the crowd. "Look at her face. That's not teaching a lesson, that's assault, battery. And it's been happening for 10 years while all of you looked the other way." Priscilla stood, her face red with fury. "How dare you? Family discipline is private." "Family discipline?" Aurora's voice rose. "You mean torture? Breaking her down until she doesn't recognize herself?" She crossed the room to me, and I felt frozen in place. When she took my hands, the touch was so familiar it hurt, like coming home after being lost for years. "Amara, look at me, please." I slowly raised my eyes to meet hers. Seeing my own face looking back at me with such fierce love made tears stream down my cheeks. "Do you remember who you were?" she asked softly. "Before him? Before them? You were strong, brilliant. You were going to change the world." My voice came out broken. I can't do this here." "Yes, you can. I'm here now. I'm not leaving without you." She turned back to Damon, and her voice turned to steel. "You've controlled her, isolated her, allowed your family to abuse her. You thought you'd get away with it forever, but it ends tonight." Damon's mask dropped completely, replaced with pure rage. "You have no idea what you're talking about. Amara, tell her you're fine. Tell her to leave." I looked between them, my husband and my sister, 10 years of conditioning screaming at me to obey Damon. But something else stirring, something I thought was dead. My voice was barely a whisper. Clarissa stepped forward, sneering. "She's not going anywhere with you. She's part of this family now." Aurora looked at her with cold fury. "You put your hands on my sister, that's assault, a crime." "It was discipline," Whitney said. "She needed to learn respect." "You just admitted to assault in a room full of witnesses." Aurora pulled out her phone. "And I've been recording everything since I walked in." The West family's faces went pale. A man appeared in the doorway, tall, professional, commanding. "I'm Theodore Jameson, attorney at law. I represent Aurora West, and as of tonight, Amara West as well. I've also contacted the police about the assault that was publicly admitted here. In the distance, sirens grew closer. Damon's control cracked completely. Amara, if you leave with her, you have nothing. No money, no home, nothing. You'll be completely alone. Aurora squeezed my hands. You won't be alone. You'll have me. You'll have Mom. Everyone who's been waiting 10 years to have you back. Something broke open inside me. 10 years of fear and control and believing I had nowhere to go. But Aurora was here. She'd never stopped fighting for me. I looked at Damon, really looked at him, and saw him clearly for the first time in years. He wasn't powerful. He was pathetic. I turned to Aurora, and my voice grew stronger with each word. I'm leaving. I'm done. The police arrived within minutes. Theodore had given them a detailed brief before they entered, and they took the situation seriously. Officers took statements from guests who'd witnessed Damon's announcement. Multiple people had recorded the moment on their phones. The evidence was overwhelming. Clarissa and Whitney were arrested right there in the ballroom, handcuffs on their wrists while Priscilla screamed about lawyers and lawsuits and how they'd destroy everyone involved. But too many people had seen. Too many had heard. The West family's power couldn't erase this. Aurora wrapped her jacket around my shoulders and guided me out while Theodore handled the police. Flashbulbs went off. Someone had tipped off the press. By morning, the story would be everywhere. I didn't care. I was leaving. Outside, a car waited. Aurora helped me into the back seat, sliding in beside me. That's when I broke down completely. 10 years of held-back tears poured out. Aurora held me while I sobbed, stroking my hair like she used to when we were children. "I've got you," she whispered. "You're safe now, I promise." The car pulled up to a house I didn't recognize. Aurora helped me out, and the front door opened. Mom stood there. She looked older than I remembered, but her eyes were the same. When she saw my face, bruised and tear-stained, she pressed her hand to her mouth. "Oh, my baby." I collapsed into her arms, and she held me like she used to, like I was still her little girl who needed protecting. "I'm sorry," I sobbed. "I'm so sorry I pushed you away." "Shh. You have nothing to apologize for. Nothing." Inside, Aurora had prepared everything. Comfortable clothes laid out, tea brewing, a safe, quiet space where I could begin to heal. The first weeks were the hardest. Every decision felt monumental: what to wear, what to eat, where to sit. Simple choices I hadn't made for myself in 10 years. I had nightmares every night, panic attacks when doors closed too loudly. I flinched when anyone moved too quickly near me. Aurora and Mom were patient. They gave me space when I needed it and held me when I fell apart. Theodore worked tirelessly on the legal front. Emergency restraining order, granted. Divorce filing with documentation of abuse, submitted. Asset freeze, approved. Damon fought everything. His lawyers painted me as mentally unstable, Aurora as manipulative, but the evidence was overwhelming. The video from the party, medical records documenting years of injuries I'd explained away, financial records showing Damon's complete control, witness testimony from guests who'd seen the abuse firsthand. Clarissa and Whitney pled guilty to reduced assault charges, probation, and counseling. Their mugshots made the news. The West family's pristine reputation shattered publicly. 6 months later, I was divorced. The settlement was substantial. Damon had fought to keep me penniless, but the court disagreed. I had enough to rebuild. I enrolled in classes to finish my business degree. The same dream Aurora and I had shared before Damon. I volunteered at a domestic violence shelter, finding purpose in helping women escape what I'd survived. A year after that anniversary party, I stood before a room of survivors at a shelter fundraiser. I told them my story, about abuse that doesn't look like people expect, about isolation, about how there are people waiting to help if you can just reach out. For 10 years, I believed I was trapped, I said, but people were fighting for me even when I couldn't fight for myself. If you're where I was, please know you're not alone. There is a way out. There is life on the other side. In the audience, Aurora and Mom cried proud tears. Afterward, Aurora hugged me tight. "I'm proud of you. Thank you for never giving up on me, even when I'd given up on myself." Walking out together, I felt something I hadn't felt in a decade. Free. Not just free from Damon, but free to be myself again. The woman they'd tried to destroy was back, stronger for having survived, and finally, truly free.